Hello, I am live. I am Rebecca Hart, and this is Free Tarot Fridays. It is noon on Friday. This is a weekly show, I was going to say, that I do where I chat a little bit about the tarot and do a little free, short tarot reading for someone I haven't read for before or in a while. Today's reading, I think, I'm now doing this thing where you can just tell me that you want this. You don't have to show up for this. Last week, Anastasia asked me a question. I'm going to read for her this week. If you want to be read next week, please just drop me a line and let me know. Otherwise, you can find me at Clear. I just looked at myself and was like, I can see the light in my glasses. ClearTarotNYC.com is where you can book me for one-on-one readings or events. I was late to my own live stream today because I was having a chat with someone and I was just laughing at myself because is anyone not sick right now? Like, I'm just getting over being really sick. And I was just quasi complaining to my friend of like, oh, I'm so tired and I have to go read tarot cards at a party in Queens later, like you do. One of my favorite things to do, go to a party, read strangers' tarot cards, learn about their lives, get to work with this beautiful tool for a couple of hours. Very grateful. And yet very tired. And I also noticed something where I said, hang on a minute, I'm going to read a tarot party tonight. I am doing a short corporate event on Monday. I have a couple of one-on-one private readings in person this week that I'm really looking forward to. Mostly I work over Zoom. And yet I am still like in the same breath, I will say all of that and then say like, oh, I'm really stressed because I don't have any work right now. And it just made me think like, what are the tapes that we're constantly playing that might need some updating? I feel like everything I say, even without meaning to, comes back to like, this is why we meditate. But I do think that another reason that we meditate is to sit down and kind of get to hear the tapes that are constantly running. I think in a way, sometimes I think it's a mistake to be like, oh, meditation is to just clear your mind, like shut everything up in there, just shut it up. Because then you kind of miss out on some information. And I don't know if you ever tried it, it's almost impossible to forcibly clear your mind. When those moments happen, it usually is when we're not trying. And I do think that's ultimately the result, is to have these moments of disidentification with thought or being between thoughts. But I also think it's like a fringe benefit to be like, oh, is that what I'm saying to myself all the time? Oh, okay. And then we become aware. Awareness is the first step, right? Awareness, acceptance, action. Hello to everyone who is watching this. I'm Rebecca of Clear Tarot NYC. I'm over here on Instagram at the Tarot Philosopher, over here on Facebook and YouTube as myself. Going to do a little reading for Anastasia today, whether she is here or not. Please drop me a line if you would like to be read on this live stream. I also wanted to give a little shout out to a friend and listener, Mike, who shows up at these things a lot and who's a regular client of mine. He sent me this great email last week and I was going to read it, but I don't have it in front of me. But it was great, both because he was expressing appreciation for Free Tarot Fridays and something he'd heard that helped him, but also because he said something that helped me that I wanted to pass along. And he said that he was, in the midst of a flurry of like, I just finished a project. What do I do now? What do I do now? You may be familiar with this. I'm addicted to activity and action. And I get very nervous between things because I think that there will be no things anymore once the last thing is done. And he was saying I was going into my whirlwind of like, what's next? What's next? What do I do? What do I do? And he happened to tune into this when we were talking about the useful but counterintuitive move of stopping and pausing, and how we often can't hear the instructions about the next thing to do until we get very still and listen. And he said, I took that to heart and I really made an effort to be still and to still my mind, not clear my mind. That's me saying that now, but still my mind. And almost immediately, he said, I started noticing things in my environment that pointed me in a certain way, and I kind of love this because we talk about seeing signs, right? And there's all kinds of ways to look at them. And there's like a kind of gamut from mundane to mystical about almost all of these things, right? But one way you could look at it is that, if he had been frenetic and caught up in action and what do I do? What do I do? He might not have noticed, the email about the teaching course that happened to come up that made him be like, oh, right, that's something I wanted to, and I keep talking about it and I'm not doing it. And a couple of other little things like that. And then he said this thing that I really liked, so I wanted to pass it on to you. That he said, when I was a kid and we would go into a department store, a crowded department store, my mother would say, if you get lost, stand still. And she meant, practically speaking, stand still so I can find you. But he was like, I think that applies to a lot of situations as well. And so that's actually been with me a lot this week, because I've had a lot of moments of feeling like, it's end of the year frenzy is setting in, right? What am I doing? What am I doing? How do I fix everything right now? How do I manage my life? And feeling a bit lost. And, often the more I try to do something and try to figure out what to do, the more lost I feel. So I appreciate that, that idea of, if you're lost, stand still. So I'm going to do just a quick reading, and I appreciate Anastasia last week for listening to the live stream and asking for this reading, so that I have something to do for you guys right now, and also something to warm up with before I go and read people for 2 hours at this party later. I think this probably applies to a lot of us and to a lot of different professions, but it is true that every time I sit down to do it, I'm like, do I remember how to do it? Like, there's always like a little voice that's like, who told you could read tarot cards? Anyway, yeah. Thanks for listening. Let me see. I think Anastasia's question was something about what should I do in December? And I always take just, the should questions and kind of retranslate them in my mind, because as you know, I'm on a mission to remove the word should from our vocabulary. And I'm going to say more like, what does December hold for me? What do I need to know about? What's this month going to be like? What would benefit me and the people around me? I think that's probably what she meant by what should I do in December. And also, what is it? It's December 8th. So we're getting into December. So let me see what this has to say to her. You can't see me, but I promise it's riveting to watch me shuffle these cards. Riveting. I'm really tired. Getting over illness. If you guys are ill, I hope that it's quick, that it passes quickly. I'm so sick of getting sick every year. Back to Anastasia's question. Well, I think the thing that I see, I think what's underneath this question is I am tired, right? I mean, because the first thing that's coming up is these, I keep making myself this promise that I'm going to put all of them out before I start talking. So let me do that. And I'm glad I did that, right? Because the first thing I see in this reading, right, is this 8 of Pentacles, 8, which I think of as one of the cards that's like about ordinary hard work, and maybe a little monotonous, like I always think of the 8 of Pentacles as the guy making the donuts, like every day, here's another donut, next, here's another one. It's like what we think of when we think of the phrase like good, honest, hard work, just making the stuff, doing the thing. There might be a little monotony work-wise. Big surprise at the end of the year, maybe we need a vacation, but I'm seeing that because I want to say a couple of things. One, because we're in this position of like making the Pentacles. The Pentacles are the things we craft, things we make, money we make every day, just doing it nose to the grindstone, crossed by a little bit of everybody getting irritable in your surrounding areas. There's been a little like, maybe sharp tongues, maybe ideological differences. I always it's so, even after all these years with the tarot, I think of my psychic connection to these cards as just so weird sometimes, because this morning I was thinking, what should I talk to them about? And the image of the 5 of Wands floated into my mind, and I already wanted to talk about this before I even came here. And yes, I did shuffle these cards a lot before I talked to you. But this card that's about, ideological differences, argument, it's frustrating. In a lot of these decks, it looks like they're really just beating each other with these sticks. The wands are the wand is our spiritual life, our creative life, our right brain, the thing that connects us individuals to the big self, and with any magical tool like that, you can misuse it or use it well. And so there's potential for like, no, my way is better. Always when it comes to even the best intentions spiritually. Anyway, so we've got work, we've got a little argument, stress, infighting, which results in, I always think of this 7 of Wands as a timeout, but also a triumph. It's a moment of saying, it would depend on the other cards around it, But I think in this instance, it's not saying, shut up, you guys, my way is the best way. It's saying, I know what's best for me. And I'm going to follow what my instinct is telling me, even if you're saying, don't do that because it might be dangerous, or don't do that because it's crazy or whatever. There's a kind of assertion of your own creativity and your own path, but I think, like, just to be really like mundane about it, I think you just really need a break. And I think you should allow yourself a break in December if possible. Especially because I don't know what this is. You know what it is, I don't, but immediate past is this big tower. Existing structures coming down quite dramatically. It's a major card. It is a force of the universe that happens to us. We don't make this happen. So there was a kind of like, I slangily call it, come to Jesus moment, where something that has been the way it is for a long time detonated over change. And you're kind of reeling from that. I think that's part of what's making you maybe like a little snippy with the people around you. There's been a kind of just a big change. And what's nice is that you come out of it with a real sense of clarity and of what to do next. We've been talking about like doing versus stillness. And it's kind of like, if this reading was like just a bunch of sounds, it would be like yelling, 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 stop. So, you've got you kind of trying to do a little too much. We're balancing on a tightrope and we're juggling at the same time. Some people can do this. Does that mean we should do it, even if we can? I don't know. I mean, there's something amazing about the Two of Pentacles. It's really making stuff work that maybe you shouldn't work. And it's really like having a sense of you're very creative and you're powerful and you make stuff happen. But I could see how that might be a little tiring. And again, it's kind of like making you seem to your environment to maybe be not your best self. I feel like the stress or the wear and tear is kind of compromising your, I don't know, morals sounds too dramatic, but integrity a little bit. It's kind of making you cut corners. It's kind of making you be like, not do the best work because you're like, oh, what's the point? You're just tired, And I say all of this with a lot of confidence because I feel like this is your final card. The final answer to the question is this big, beautiful, major Temperance card, which says to me that December for you is about restoring health, restoring balance, and peace, right? That we get to a place, if you allow it to happen, you get off the tightrope and off the hamster wheel and you get to be here, which is interesting, right? Because we have these two cards of balance. This guy technically is balanced. He is balancing on the tightrope. He is balancing two possibly opposing projects, opposing forces, making them work together in a beautiful way. And then there's this kind of larger universal force of balance called temperance, which is true health, true sobriety, true harmony. And I would say the main difference for this, for me, is that the angel of temperance is just balance. There's no striving for balance. This is like, I got it. I'm making it work. I'm making it work. And this is like, I am peace itself, So I think what December should be about for you is really like, if you can, even in small ways, I would watch your words before you speak with coworkers and to yourself. I would be aware that in some way, whatever this is, you've just been through kind of a lot. You've just been through a big change. And that if you play your cards right, you can come out the end of this month with very refreshed, with a real sense of peace in your heart. And you've been here before. There's this long past card called the Sun that lets me know that when you're healthy and when you're in a state of enlightenment and of having what your needs met. I mean, the sunlight is getting our needs met. It is loving attention. Be with people you love, be with people who fill you up, take a rest. In a way, we don't need tarot cards to tell us this, but I always say that the pictures kind of like help you guys take what I'm saying seriously. So thank you. That's Anastasia's reading. If you want to be read by me on this live stream, and I have not read for you before, I will do a quick and dirty reading like this for you. Just send me a question in the chat over here. I'm at the Tarot Philosopher on Instagram. Karthik, can you send me your question and I will read for you next week? Please email it to me at cleartarotnyc@gmail.com. cleartarotnyc@gmail.com, and I'll read for you next week. But anytime, if you would like to book a in-depth, full-length reading with me, you can go to cleartarotnyc.com and book it. Or if I'm confusing you in any way, send me a message and say, what did you just say? How do I do this? Sally BC9 wants to know if she will meet her soulmate soon. Gosh, Sally, I would also like to know that. Please send me an email and remind me that you asked me this, and I will get you into one of the future Free Tarot Fridays. Just show up and I will read for you, or show up and remind me. Book me anytime at cleartarotnyc.com. I am also reading a ton of events during the holiday season. If you have, I am doing a corporate party on Monday over Zoom. Such things are possible. I love going to events, and all I need is a corner or a room where I can see people one-on-one. Super fun. It's been a pleasure, as always, talking about tarot with you guys. And I will see you next week or in the future. Bye.